Welcome back, Olson Speed Shop. We're going to name this video 1 Step Forward, 2 Steps Back. This is an update on the big block Chevy for the 68 Camaro. We had this engine, we had a plan that Friday this engine would be built, everything back on, intake manifold, new timing chain, new rear main seal, oil pan, valve covers, distributor, ready to rock and roll. So today, Saturday, we'd be installing it in the car. Well, that was the plan. We were moving right along. We put the new timing chain on. Went very smoothly. We got the crank gear we pulled off and replaced. New cam gear with the chain. Everything went well. Now, on this engine, when I had done my first scan of it, I'd looked inside the valves, inside the heads here, and it was very clean. Everything looked good. I spun the engine around after putting some oil down the cylinders. I looked at the cylinder walls. They looked good, and thought everything was great. Thought this isn't going to be bad at all. Well, Friday, we got the new timing chain on, and we decided to spin it around, make sure everything was good and then lined up well. And Stephen noticed that one of the cam lobes was kind of ugly. So I got looking at it closer, and sure as heck, it was ugly. Very disappointing. Let me show you. See if I can get the light here to work for me. So, this is the lifter. We're talking about the intake valve on the #1 cylinder. And if you look close in there, you can see, let me see if I can get some light in there. There we go. Watch that lifter. See how that lifter's lifting? Now that isn't on the lobe itself. That's on the side of the cam. But that shouldn't be like that. It should be tight. Now had this been running in the car, you would have had a ticking noise. When this car was running, it should have been ticking for sure. And it would have only got worse. So you can see there. Let me show you the lobe. Let me spin it around. And show you what the lobe looks like. Now I got all the plugs out on this, so here we go. Now there's the lobe. See how it's nice and rounded over here? Shouldn't be. Should look kind of like this lobe, fairly straight across, not rounded over. So let's see here. Not a very good picture, is it? But there you can see a little bit better. That is the top of this cam lobe. Bad news. Bad news. Right here you can see that's the way the lobe should look. Now when I first glanced at these, I saw, you can look at this lobe. You can see a little bit of a weird wear pattern there. But this thing sat for 40 years, so I thought, well, those will break in and get normal once we get going again. But that is unacceptable. You would never be able to adjust this rocker to take the slack out of there. And when you did, that lobe would continue to wear down. I don't know what happened. Now these lifters are supposed to, let me get it off there again. These lifters, when they're working and they're going up and down, the lifter actually is supposed to spin. And they'll spin as they go around. And it lubes, and it, sometimes you'll pull these lifters out and they'll have a little bit of a cone on them, on the bottom of them. And I'll do a video when I pull this cam out and show you these lifters. I suspect this lifter is pretty worn along with that cam lobe. I had a Nova once that I had just put a cam in. We broke it in, and it broke in a little bit funny. I noticed that it was running hot on one of the header tubes, but it seemed to run okay. I had run some variable duration lifters in it, and that is what I suspect the problem was. But what happened was, and I didn't wait. That probably didn't help things either. I wanted to go racing, so I took it drag racing. And it started running worse throughout the night, and so I told my buddies, hey, I'm headed home. And so I took off for home. And you know, it was just a street Nova, so I drove it to the track and raced it, and then I'm driving home, and I got just coming off the freeway to the exit to my house, and it started running really bad. So I shut it off, and we went and grabbed a strap and towed it home. Anyway, long story short, the cam lobe and the cam lobe was basically flat. It had taken a lobe off the cam itself. The lifter itself was about that much, normal stock size, and the lifter I pulled out of that engine was about that big. It had worn a lot of that lifter off, and the cam lobe was pretty much gone on the cam. It was a good cam, competition cams. I suspect it was something happened when we were breaking it in, whether it run dry before we got it started and did the break-in procedure, or maybe those Rhodes variable lifters were bad. I got one bad one. The way that was wore down, it really made me wonder if it was hardened correctly. But who's to know? I threw in a new cam, new competition cam with some competition lifters, and that motor ran good. It was a little 327. That thing would rev to the moon. I think I shifted that around 7,500 RPM. And that was a fun little car. But anyways, so back to this cam. We're taking a step back now. We're gonna have to pull the timing chain off, of course. We'll undo the rockers, pull the cam out, and we're gonna replace the cam. Now when I dropped this oil pan, there was no metal in the oil pan. The filter is actually still on it. I pulled it today and it looks okay, but I suspect the filter got most of the material in it. So we're going to replace the cam. We're going to replace all the lifters, and we'll go from there. But I think the rest of the bottom end is going to be fine on it. I'm not too worried about it. But it will get a new cam and lifters. I got one ordered, and it'll be mailed. It'll be a week and a half before it gets to the shop. So we're a little bit on hold, which is fine. We can take the time. There's pretty much, I'm pretty much stuck on the engine because I can't put the intake on till I replace the cam. I can't put the oil pan on till I replace the cam because you got to put the timing cover on. So we're pretty much kind of at a standstill, but we'll focus on the engine bay. We'll clean it and get it cleaned up, ready to rock and roll. But just an update on the engine. Found a flat cam. It's kind of interesting why the cam went flat with only 78,000 original miles and why it's only one lobe. If you have any thoughts, shoot a comment, write us a comment. If you do look at this push rod, I don't know if it's probably nothing to do with it, but you see that streak down it? That is actually like some kind of assembly lube. So when I pull that out, I'll clean that off, and one thing I'll definitely make sure of is that it's clear, that we're getting oil all the way through it. Make sure that oil's coming up through the lifter and through the push rod, and lubing the rocker like it should. Who knows? Maybe it's clogged. Maybe from the factory they used a little too much lube and clogged the push rod. But we'll do a video on what we find when we pull this cam out. It won't take long to get the cam out, and we'll let you guys know. So, till then, the weekend, well, Saturday night, so have a good Sunday and stay tuned. We will get this thing running, and should run good. So stay tuned, keep watching, and you'll be able to hear it fire up soon, hopefully. Thanks.